Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Welcome to my show. Well, probably not in my adult life has there been a time when so many people are focused on their own health. I mean, we were already thinking about it as baby boomers who want to live forever, but with the pandemic now, every sniffle, every cough, and you're really frightened. To talk about COVID-19 and what we're going through and overall health, let's talk to Dr. Matt Chalmers from Chalmers Wellness in Frisco. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, well, I can't even imagine what it's been like to be a doctor during this pandemic. Did you get a lot of calls?
Yeah, we've gotten lots and lots of calls, and it's very strange the difference of what people are doing. So people want to know information about what's going on with COVID-19, which was interesting because this is the first time someone's called in, and we haven't had a lot of information. So from a doctor's standpoint, they say, give me all the information, and you're like, we don't have good information. And so that was one of the first points, but that brought up one of the things that we really work on the most was that brought up all the stress. And everything that people have been going through with the lockdown, from teaching your kids at home, trying to work from home, not being able to go out and work out or do anything. Now these stress levels are really starting to bubble up and people are really starting to feel them. And so people have been calling about that as well and worried about their immune system and worried about how healthy they should be. And so that's been very interesting to be able to discuss that with people as well.
Well, I have a philosophy that because I have a strong immune system, and my wife does too, we've probably had a taste of it during the winter time, and we just kind of figured it was the flu. And so the healthiest of us have already had it, and we're probably immune from it. The unhealthy people end up in the hospital, and sometimes worse.
Yeah, that's what the new research, like I said, we don't have totally awesome numbers yet, which is confusing and scary for people. But the new research that's coming out is that as far as the new antibody testing, a lot of people have actually either had it, been exposed to it. And so that is giving us some peace of mind. So you're right, like the healthier you are, the stronger your immune system, you can deal with things like COVID-19 or the flu or a cold or anything and get through it, sometimes without even noticing.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your practice, and we've got some video off of YouTube. It's a beautiful facility. How long have you had it now?
We've been there for a little over 10 years, since 2007, so I guess that's 13 years, and it's been a fun ride.
Yeah. Well, I love your emphasis on prevention, because it seems like in the country, we build these hospitals for people who are sick. What about concentrating on not becoming sick?
Well, and that's the whole genesis of what wellness care is. So we have 2 different models in the country. We have sick care, which is I have the flu, I've had a heart attack, I've had a stroke, I go and I get care, which is great. And then there's the wellness model, which is I don't want to have a heart attack, I don't want to have a stroke. And so what do we do to prevent those things? And so that's really what we focus on, is doing the testing, doing the things, focusing a lifestyle around people that is going to be healthy for them so that they don't end up having these major issues.
Yes. And I remember from talking to you a few years ago, the reason you were introduced to this was because of an injury that you had in high school. Is that right?
So the way I got introduced to chiropractic and just a different thinking than the Western normal model was I hurt my back playing football in high school, and I couldn't walk anymore. And we went and saw neurosurgeons, orthopedic surgeons, pain specialists, anyone who had a license to look at me, I saw. And finally they sent this guy in, and mind you, I'm bench pressing 400 pounds and squatting 600 pounds at the time. They send this little 155-pound kid who looked like he's never seen the sun in. And basically he says, there's nothing wrong with you. You just don't want to play football anymore, and so you've made this whole thing up. So basically, he comes in, calls me a liar, and needless to say, without saying exactly what I said to him, I was not happy. So I called my coach and I said, I can't play anymore. I can't walk. And he said, well, go see our team chiropractor. And because life has a funny irony to it, I remember to this day telling him I need a doctor, not a massage. And he says, well, go see him anyway. So literally my parents carried me in because I couldn't walk. He takes the same x-ray that the medical guys had and clicks it up in the view box and goes, oh, it's right there. And puts me down and adjusts me. And I got out and hobbled back. And I went to practice 3 days later and went back to playing. And so that's when I kind of thought the idea of, okay, what I've been taught and what I've thought for, which, I'm a teenager, wasn't very long, but there's something outside of the normal box.
Yes.
And that's kind of driven how I've led my practice ever since, was just because we're doing it this way, is that the best way? And what we found is that it's not. It is maybe the cheapest way for people, the easiest way for the doctor, but it's not necessarily the very best way, which is why we started doing all the concierge work, because I started saying, look, if you're really concerned about your health, if you're worried about not dying early, then let's do some of these tests that might be outside of insurance or purview, but are the very best tests to do. And so that's kind of where we got everything kind of started, was the whole genesis was maybe what I've been thinking my whole life isn't 100% accurate. So.
Yes. Well, let's talk more about your concierge practice. So you're working with companies now, and they will offer this as kind of like a perk.
Yeah, so a lot of the C-level guys that we work with will do it as a corporate perk to bring people in, because they're worried that they're not giving people really wellness. So if you get a cold and you go down, you can get whatever the doc's going to give you, it's fine. But what they're worried about is a lot of these guys have heart attacks. Like we've all heard the stories of, oh man, Ted had a heart attack and died. He was 55. He was totally healthy. No one had any idea that he had any issues. Well, had you done the right studies, you could have seen that his stress markers were through the roof. You could have seen that his calcium CT showed that he had a lot of plaquing in the heart. We could have seen through a sleep test study that he had major apnea. It's very easy to take some of these people who seem healthy and go, you're in a really bad position.
Yes.
And so we can take those people back and fix them. A lot of these guys that we work with, everybody has key man insurance. So if, the COO or the CFO dies, the company can keep going. But a lot of people are starting to realize that there's a second piece where let's spend a little bit of money and figure out how to keep people from dying and make sure that their health is good, and we can continue down that path.
And you save lives. I mean, I'm sure that through some of these routine exams, you're finding stuff that, if undiagnosed, could be fatal.
Absolutely. The biggest one is the calcium CT or the calcium score. A lot of people aren't even doing those. And it's funny when I get people in who have a concierge doc already and I give them a list of things that I want to see and they don't bring me that. I'm like, this is super important. And we go and do it, and they'll have a 30-40% blockage to major arteries in their heart. We've had people come in who think they're healthy with enough blockages that I've had to send them to one of my surgeons to have stents put in.
Wow.
80%, 85%. Those guys could have died any day. And so when we talk about saving lives, that's what we're talking about. And then it's that piece, but it's also the quality of life piece. It's the, waking up with more energy. It's the knowing that you're going to be healthy. It's, cleaning stuff up, helping to lose the fat, helping to get kind of your body into a healthy wellness lifestyle. So that's kind of the whole piece.
We are going to have you back. Unfortunately, we're out of time for this segment. We're going to put your website up, chalmerswellness.com. He's in Frisco. Go check him out. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely, man.
All right, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.